All right, let's continue. So today we're going to talk about, well, several different grammar topics. The first one's going to be pronouns. And we're just going to do about maybe 2 questions for each of these. So the first question is number 19. Of course, we're on test number 1. So we look at 19. If we look at the answers, we see it's a question between it's and there. 2 different kinds of it's, which you now know about, and 2 different kinds of theirs, which you either already know about or you will learn about in this video. So let's go to the sentence. And it starts, scientists have long known that soot particles facilitate melting by darkening snow and ice, limiting its ability to reflect the sun's rays. Now, whenever you have a pronoun question, you have to hook that pronoun up with the noun that it's supposed to replace. Very similar to verbs. When you have a verb and it's not tense, when it's a subject-verb agreement issue, you hook that verb up to the subject. Well, here we're hooking the pronoun up to the noun. So, limiting its ability to reflect the sun's rays, we have to understand what is having the ability to reflect the sun's rays. Now, if we look in the first part of the sentence, it could be a few things. We hook it up to a noun. Is it the scientist? That's a noun. Did the scientist have an ability to reflect the sun's rays? I don't think so. So it's not that. The next noun is soot particles. So is it the soot particles' ability to reflect the sun's rays? Yeah, maybe. That seems reasonable. And then there's another one. There's snow and ice. And is it the snow and ice's ability to reflect the sun's rays? And I think that's also a possibility. So, but we're lucky here because soot particles and snow and ice are both plural. So we don't have to worry about the singular plural issue. And that's what this question is. It's is singular, there is plural. So we can cross out A and B right away because they're both it's and it's. And we know it's going to be something plural. Plus, we already know that A couldn't be it, right? Because it' means it is. And it is ability doesn't make any sense. So now we've got a 50-50 shot between there and there, letter C or D. And then it's just a question of understanding which there is right. THERE, or letter C, means over there, it's place. And THEIR is the possessive, and that's what we want, their ability to reflect the sun's rays. The answer is D. All right, let's do one more. We're going all the way to the end, number 44. And we read, if I could get there. Now, if we look at the answer choices, we see they're all possessive again. It's just which pronoun do we use in the possessive. So we start at the beginning. Because today's students can expect to hold multiple jobs, some of which may not even exist yet, during our lifetime, studying philosophy allows them to be flexible and adaptable. So again, we think about whose lifetime is it? And we go back. I think it's pretty clear that it's today's students' lifetime. So we look at students and how would we replace the word students? Our doesn't make sense because our includes like we. It has to be something like we, our. That's all I have to say about that. There's no we. It's a third person plural, right? Third person is them, the students. So ones, I'll give you a little tip about ones. This is letter B. You don't use one unless one is already in the sentence. That's an important note. Don't use it unless it already exists in the sentence. His or her is singular. It's either his or her, not both of theirs. So the only one left is D, there, and that's the appropriate answer. Whose lifetime? Their lifetime, those students over there. Okay, so that's all we've got for pronouns. We can move right on to the next one. And the next one is called idiom. All right, we're going to go back to the beginning. We're looking at number 7. Now, what is an idiom, you might say? If you know, congratulations. But if you don't know, an idiom is like, I like to think of it as a quirk of the language. There's no specific rule that I can teach you about an idiom like I can with a pronoun. An idiom is just the way something is said. So, like we say, if we like something, we might be like, oh, that's cool. We don't say, oh, that's warm. You just don't say it. Why? I don't know. You just don't. And people would look at you funny if you did. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay, but let's go to number 7. And we see that we start off with nutritionists. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid, and it contains few calories in its unsweetened, low and non-fat forms. That's a lot of words, and we don't really need to read all of it, but we're looking at that middle portion, okay? We're looking at serves to be a digestive aid. Now, the problem with idioms is you either know it or you don't, and if you don't know it, oh well, it's a guess. And so you don't have to worry if you don't know it. There are not that many idioms on the test. So you take it with a grain of salt. You do the best that you can. And it does help to read these out loud. Remember, you're going to plug your ears and whisper. I highly recommend that you do that while you're practicing for the test. While you're prepping, make sure you get used to that strategy because it's a little weird if you've never done it before. Okay, so I'm just going to start after the colon. It's an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid, and something else. And serves to be a digestive aid. I'm not sure. It sounds a little funky to me. Can't tell. Maybe I'm just going to leave it. Serves as a digestive aid. I think I like that one too. Serves like a digestive aid. There's something that sounds a little bit off about serves like, so I'm going to cross that one out. And serves for a digestive aid doesn't sound good at all. Now the answer is B. I'm not going to go into it that much because it is an idiom. You either know it or you don't. But you give yourself a better chance to know it if you say it out loud and you can hear, like, have I ever heard that phrase before? And sometimes when you say it out loud, that's clearer to you. So that's the first idiom question. And the second idiom question is number 25. So let's flip over. Okay, number 25, right at the end of the paragraph there. It was during this time that I read an article into co-working spaces. And again, I would read all of the answers in. I read an article about co-working spaces. And one strategy that you can use here is when you're reading them all in, is just to cross off. Like you read in A, you read in B, cross off whichever sounds worse. So here, I think B sounds better than A, so I'm going to cross off A on my paper. It's really helpful to cross off your answer choices as you go. This is a reminder, I did tell you this in the intro video, but you want to be marking up your page as much as you can to help you through the decision-making process. And there are thousands of decisions that you have to make on this test, so you want to do everything that you can to make it an easier thing for you. Okay, I read an article upon co-working spaces. No, I read an article for co-working spaces. Well, I read an article about co-working spaces. You didn't do it for the co-working spaces. The co-working spaces was the subject that you were reading about. So I think that's a pretty easy one. I don't think any of my students have gotten that one wrong. But that's the deal with idiom, and I think we can move on. All right, this next one is actually pretty important. It's called redundancy. And redundancy simply means repetition. The SAT hates repetition. If you have a sentence or a phrase or something that has already been said, it will never be the right answer. Okay, so let's look at number 21. 21 says, the pattern box observed in 2012 may repeat itself again with harmful effects on the Arctic ecosystem. So we're going to focus on that first half. The pattern he observed may repeat itself again. Now the question is, well, let's just read in the answers. B says it may repeat itself. That's our clue. You look at the answers and you say, well, do you need the word again or do you not? Now, repeat itself means it's doing it the first time and then it's doing it again. You don't need again. That word again is redundant. So B is better than A. Then we go to C. The pattern may repeat itself with damage and harmful effects. Now, I'm continuing on because C adds some verbiage. So repeat itself is good. We solved that problem. But then C goes to with damage and harmful effects. Well, those mean the same thing, right? Damage is harmful effects. Again, redundancy, we get rid of C, cross that out. And then D says, the pattern may repeat itself, possibly, with harmful effects. Now, this is maybe slightly more nuanced. It says the pattern may repeat itself, so you don't need the word possibly. Okay, did you get that? It may repeat itself, or it may not. So we don't need to say possibly, because possibly means the same thing as it may. All right? So those are the two, right? Oh, no, there's one more redundancy question. So number 23. The novelty of this comfortable work-from-home life, however, soon got worn off quickly. Okay, so we're focused on that second half of the sentence. The novelty soon got worn off quickly. Again, we're thinking redundancy here. It got worn off soon and quickly. That means essentially the same thing. That's redundant. We cross off A. B says, was promptly worn off quickly. Promptly means the same thing as quickly. Again, redundant. Goodbye. C also has the word promptly in it. So now we know the answer is D, which only says it wore off quickly. Short and sweet. So be on the lookout for redundancy. It will never be right. Okay, I think we're going to stop here and I'll see you next time. Bye.